My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what is reaching you today is not ordinary. Something has been moving toward your spirit quietly. A message, a feeling, a confession that has not yet fully crossed human lips, but has already touched the unseen places where souls speak before voices do. And I need you to listen with more than your ears today, because there is someone connected to your heart who has been carrying a message for you, and the energy around that message is no longer still. It is stirring, it is rising, it is pressing against the silence. And even if this person has acted distant, even if they have hidden behind pride, confusion, timing, fear, or old wounds, something inside them has begun to move in your direction again. Not loudly, not perfectly, but deeply. There is a truth inside them that has been trying to come forward, and that truth begins with this: they still feel you, even when they pretend they do not, even when they distract themselves, even when they convince others that they are fine, even when they tell themselves that what they felt was only temporary. Your presence keeps returning to them like a light under a closed door. They may go through the day, they may laugh, they may speak to people, they may look busy, they may seem unreachable, but there is a private moment, often when the noise settles, when something in their chest remembers you, and in that moment, they cannot lie to themselves. They feel your energy, they feel the part of you that never forced them, never chased them in a way that destroyed your dignity, never tried to become someone else just to be chosen. They feel the way you affected them, and that is why this message has come today, because heaven has seen what you cannot see. You have been wondering whether you imagined it. You have asked yourself if the connection was only strong on your side. You have questioned whether your heart created meaning where there was none. But there are bonds that do not disappear simply because someone becomes silent. There are feelings that do not die simply because someone is afraid to admit them. There are soul connections that continue speaking in hidden rooms of the spirit long after the outer world has gone quiet. And this person, the one your heart has not fully released, has been receiving small reminders of you. A song, a scent, a phrase, a place, a memory that arrives with no warning. Sometimes they are doing something simple, and suddenly your face appears in their mind with such clarity that they stop for a moment. Not because they planned to think of you, not because they were trying to feel anything, but because the soul remembers what the ego tries to bury. And beloved, this is where the message becomes important. They are not only thinking of you, they are beginning to understand you differently. Before, they may have misunderstood your depth. They may have looked at your sensitivity and called it too much. They may have looked at your silence and thought it meant you had given up. They may have looked at your strength and assumed you did not need tenderness. But something has shifted. Now they are seeing that behind your quiet moments was pain. Behind your distance was self-protection. Behind your patience was love. Behind your strength was a heart that had already survived things they never fully knew. And this realization is not comfortable for them. Because when a person finally understands the heart they mishandled, the soul does not let them rest easily. They begin replaying moments. Words they should have said. Times they should have stayed softer. Signs they ignored. Calls they did not answer with honesty. Feelings they covered with pride. And now the message inside them is becoming heavier than the fear that kept it hidden. They want to say something, but they do not know if they still have the right. They want to reach toward you, but they are afraid you have changed. They want to know if there is still a place in your heart where their name can be spoken without pain. And this is why you have been strange lately. This is why your emotions may rise without a clear reason. This is why you may suddenly remember them when you were trying to move on. This is why your spirit feels as if something is close, but not yet visible. Because energy often arrives before action. The soul whispers before the phone rings. The heart senses movement before the feet begin walking. And right now, something around this connection is moving. But listen carefully. This is not only about them. Heaven is also showing something about you. You have changed, not in a loud way, not in a way everyone can understand, but in a sacred way. You are no longer the same person who waited in confusion without boundaries. You are no longer the same person who would abandon yourself just to keep someone close. You have cried through nights that made you stronger. You have survived silence that taught you self-worth. You have learned that love should not require you to lose your peace completely. And that transformation is part of what they feel now. They feel your energy becoming different. They feel that you are not as available to pain as you once were. They feel that your spirit has stepped into a new room. And this is making them restless. Because sometimes people only realize the value of a soul when that soul stops standing in the same place waiting to be understood. They feel you pulling your energy back. They feel the gap. They feel the absence. And now the message they have been holding becomes urgent. Their soul is saying, should have spoken sooner. Their heart is saying, I still care. Their fear is saying, what if it is too late? And their pride is standing in the middle, trying to delay what destiny is pushing forward. But pride cannot silence the soul forever. There is love energy here, but it is not shallow. It is not only attraction. It is not only missing your face, your voice, your presence, or the comfort of knowing you cared. It is deeper than that. They miss the version of themselves they felt around you. They miss how your energy made them feel seen. They miss how you carried something peaceful, even when you were hurting. They miss the way you made ordinary moments feel meaningful. And perhaps they never told you this before, but you affected them in places they did not know were still alive. You woke something in them. Something tender. Something honest. Something they had hidden beneath old disappointments. And that scared them. Because not everyone runs from love because love is weak. Some run because love is too powerful. Some run because being truly seen feels dangerous when they have spent years hiding. Some run because your light touched wounds they were not ready to heal. But now the same light they ran from is the light they keep remembering. Isn't it strange? The very thing they could not handle about you is now the thing their soul cannot forget. Your depth, your sincerity, your emotional truth, your ability to feel what others try to deny. Your presence that made them confront themselves without you even trying. They may have called it intense, but now they know it was rare. They may have stepped back from it, but now they are wondering if they stepped back from the very blessing they were asking heaven for. And there is something else. There is a message they have not said aloud, but their spirit keeps repeating it. I did not understand you then. That sentence is heavy, because it carries regret. It carries tenderness. It carries the ache of seeing clearly after the moment has passed. They are beginning to understand that you were not asking for too much. You were asking for honesty. You were asking for presence. You were asking for emotional safety. You were asking to not be left guessing where you stood. And now they see that. But seeing it now creates a new question inside them. How do they return to someone whose heart they may have made tired? How do they speak after silence? How do they explain what even they did not understand at the time? How do they admit that they felt more than they showed? This is the tension around them today. This is the unseen storm. Not a storm of danger. A storm of awakening. Their heart is waking up to what their actions delayed. And beloved, you may not see this with your eyes yet, but you have felt it. You have felt the strange pull. You have felt dreams becoming vivid. You have felt moments of sadness mixed with hope. You have felt as if something unfinished is walking toward a doorway. That is because something is But heaven does not want you to lose yourself in waiting. This message is not asking you to pause your life. It is not asking you to chase. It is not asking you to lower your standards just because someone feels something. No, this message is calling you into power. Because the next chapter of this connection cannot be built on the old version of you accepting crumbs. It cannot be built on confusion. It cannot be built on one person feeling deeply while the other hides behind uncertainty. For this message to become real in the physical world, truth must come with action. And heaven is preparing your spirit to recognize the difference. Words may come, emotion may come, a sign may come, but you must look for sincerity. You must look for consistency. You must look for whether their energy brings peace or pulls you back into old pain. Because love is sacred, but your soul is also sacred. And the love meant for you will not require you to betray the person you have become. This is why there has been a delay. Not because heaven forgot you. Not because your prayers disappeared. Not because the connection was meaningless. But because both souls had to face something. They had to face their fear. You had to face your worth. They had to learn that silence has consequences. You had to learn that love without self-respect becomes suffering. They had to realize that avoiding truth does not erase truth. You had to realize that being chosen by yourself is the first miracle. And now, because of that, the energy is different. The old cycle cannot continue the same way. Something must break. Something must be spoken. Something must become clear. There is a message trying to cross from the unseen into the seen. And the message carries 3 layers. The first layer is longing. They miss you more than they admit. The second layer is regret. They know they did not handle everything with the care your heart deserved. The third layer is fear. They are afraid that when they finally speak, you may no longer be standing where they left you. And that fear is not punishment. It is awakening. Because sometimes the soul only becomes brave when it realizes that silence may cost it the very person it cannot forget. This person has been watching something about you. Maybe not always directly. Maybe through memory. Maybe through energy. Maybe through small signs. Maybe through the way people speak of you. But they sense that you are changing. They sense that your light is not gone. It has become more protected. They sense that your heart is not cold. It has become wiser. They sense that you still carry love, but you no longer want love that makes you beg for clarity. And this makes them think deeply, more deeply than they expected. There is a moment coming when they may feel pushed to say what they have held back. But before that moment arrives, there is a spiritual test. Not a test to hurt you. A test to see whether you will choose peace over panic, faith over obsession, discernment over fantasy, self-worth over emotional hunger. Because when something returns, beloved, it does not always return in its final form. Sometimes it returns as a conversation, sometimes as an apology, sometimes as a small sign, sometimes as a message that seems simple on the surface but carries much more underneath. And you must not rush to fill in what they have not proven. Let them show you. Let them come with truth. Let them meet the version of you that has grown. Do not shrink yourself to make the connection easy for them. Do not silence your needs to keep the moment beautiful. If they bring a message, let your spirit listen. But let your wisdom answer. Because love is not only a feeling. Love is responsibility. Love is courage. Love is the willingness to become honest when hiding feels easier. And right now, this person is being called toward honesty. Their higher self knows what needs to be said. Their heart knows what it has avoided. Their soul knows the door cannot remain half open forever. And heaven is allowing pressure to build. That is why their emotions may feel heavy today. That is why their mind may keep circling back to you. That is why your name, your energy, your memory may appear around them in strange ways. They are being shown that what they buried is still alive. They are being shown that not every connection can be replaced. They are being shown that some people enter your life once, and even if you try to move past them, the lesson of their love follows you until you become truthful. You were a mirror to them, not a harsh mirror, a holy one. You reflected the part of them that wanted real love. You reflected the part of them that was tired of pretending. You reflected the part of them that wanted to be known, but feared being vulnerable. And because of that, they may have pulled away. But mirrors do not stop reflecting simply because someone looks away. The truth remains. And today, the truth is pressing closer. Their soul message to you is not polished. It is not perfect. It is not a grand speech. It is more like a trembling confession forming in the dark. I still feel you. I did not forget. I was scared. I did not know how to handle what you made me feel. I wish I had been softer. I wish I had understood sooner. I do not know if you still care, but I cannot deny that I do. This is the energy. This is what heaven is allowing you to sense. But there is one more hidden piece. And this piece is not about their feelings. It is about the reason they hesitated. There is something inside them that associates deep love with loss. At some point in their life, whether they showed it or not, they learned that attachment can hurt. They learned that closeness can become dangerous. They learned that trusting someone fully can make them vulnerable. So when your energy reached a place in them that was unguarded, they did not simply feel love. They felt fear. Fear of needing you. Fear of disappointing you. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being truly known and then rejected. And instead of speaking this honestly, they may have created distance. They may have acted confusing. They may have sent mixed signals. They may have made you question your own intuition. But your intuition was not wrong about the depth. It may not have known the timing. It may not have known the full story. But it felt something real. And that is why letting go has not been simple. Because the soul knows the difference between attachment and recognition. Attachment clings to what hurts because it fears emptiness. Recognition feels a sacred echo, even when the path is unclear. You have been trying to understand which one this is. And heaven is saying, look at your growth. If this connection only made you lose yourself, it would be a chain. But if it pushed you to awaken, to heal, to choose yourself, to see your worth, to stop accepting confusion, then even the pain became a doorway. This connection has been a doorway. But the question now is no longer, do they feel something? They do. The question is, will they become brave enough to honor it? And that is where part 1 must leave you breathing carefully. Because the energy around their message is not finished. It is building toward a moment. A moment where silence may break. A moment where something they have been holding back may come forward. A moment where you may finally understand why your spirit has felt them so strongly lately. But before that moment arrives, heaven wants you to notice what happens next. Because there is a sign coming around this connection. A sign that will reveal whether their message is only emotion or the beginning of real action. Something is already shifting. Not somewhere far away. Not in a distant future that keeps moving every time you reach for it. But the question now is no longer, do they feel something? They do. The question is, will they become brave enough to honor it? And that is where part 1 must leave you breathing carefully. Because the energy around their message is not finished. It is building toward a moment. A moment where silence may break. A moment where something they have been holding back may come forward. A moment where you may finally understand why your spirit has felt them so strongly lately. But before that moment arrives, heaven wants you to notice what happens next. Because there is a sign coming around this connection. A sign that will reveal whether their message is only emotion or the beginning of real action. Something is already shifting, not somewhere far away, not in a distant future that keeps moving every time you reach for it. Now, in this very season of your life, the energy surrounding this connection has entered a different phase, and that is why your spirit may feel unusually alert lately. You may not even realize it. You may be going through ordinary days, working, resting, thinking about other things, trying to focus on your own healing, trying to convince yourself that you are done analyzing every sign. And yet, beneath the surface, there is a strange feeling that refuses to disappear, a feeling that something unfinished is moving, a feeling that a chapter you believed was frozen is quietly thawing, a feeling that someone, somewhere, is standing closer to a truth they have avoided for a very long time. Beloved, there are moments when heaven allows two souls to drift apart, not because the connection is broken, not because the story is over, but because growth requires distance. Distance reveals things that closeness sometimes hides. When two people stand too near each other, they can become distracted by expectations, by misunderstandings, by emotions, by fears, by assumptions. But when separation enters the story, something remarkable happens. The noise begins to fade. And when the noise fades, the truth becomes harder to ignore. This person has been standing in that truth. Perhaps not every day, perhaps not every moment, but often enough that they can no longer pretend it is random. Your energy keeps finding them, not because you are forcing your presence into their life, but because some connections leave an imprint. And once that imprint exists, the soul remembers. It remembers in unexpected places, a crowded room, a quiet drive, a late night when sleep refuses to come. Not because you are chasing them, not because you are forcing your presence into their life, but because some connections leave an imprint. And once that imprint exists, the soul remembers. It remembers in unexpected places, a crowded room, a quiet drive, a late night when sleep refuses to come, a random conversation that suddenly reminds them of something you once said, a stranger who carries a small similarity to you, a laugh, a smile, a phrase, a song, and each reminder becomes another thread pulling them toward a realization they have tried to postpone. Because the deeper truth is this: the message inside them has become impossible to ignore. Not easier, not lighter, heavier, much heavier. There was a time when they could distract themselves. There was a time when they could convince themselves that enough time had passed. There was a time when they could tell themselves that life would simply move forward and erase whatever remained. But life has not erased it. In some ways, it has intensified it. And that surprises them, because they expected memory to weaken. Instead, understanding has grown stronger. They expected distance to create indifference. Instead, distance created clarity. And clarity is difficult to escape, especially when it begins arriving from every direction. You see, beloved, this person has recently been confronting parts of themselves they usually keep hidden. Old fears, old disappointments, old regrets, old patterns. And in the middle of that inner examination, your presence has appeared again. Not as a fantasy, not as an illusion, as a question they cannot answer easily. What if I was wrong? That question has followed them, quietly, relentlessly. What if I misunderstood what was in front of me? What if I let fear speak louder than my heart? What if I walked away from something I was meant to protect? What if the person who cared most was the person I understood least? These questions do not leave quickly. They linger. They sit beside them during quiet moments. They return when distractions end. And the more these questions return, the more difficult it becomes for them to continue pretending nothing happened. Because something did happen. Something real. Something meaningful. Something neither of you fully understood at the time. And that is where heaven wants your attention today. Not on what went wrong. Not on every painful detail. Not on every unanswered question. But on the transformation taking place underneath it all. The person connected to your heart is changing. Slowly. Sometimes frustratingly slowly. But genuinely. And genuine change is different from temporary emotion. Temporary emotion appears suddenly and disappears quickly. Genuine change grows roots. Genuine change reshapes perspective. Genuine change forces a person to confront truths they once avoided. And that is exactly what is happening. There are moments when they remember how they behaved. Moments when they replay conversations. Moments when they revisit choices. Moments when they wish they had responded differently. Moments when they recognize your value more clearly than ever before. And each realization creates another layer of emotional pressure. Not punishment. Awareness. Awareness is powerful. Because once someone truly becomes aware, they cannot return to ignorance. They cannot unknow what they know. They cannot unfeel what they feel. And they cannot completely silence what their soul keeps trying to say. That message is growing louder. Much louder. In fact, there are times when they almost speak. Times when they nearly send something. Times when they nearly reach out. Times when they nearly confess what has been living inside them. But then another voice appears. The voice of uncertainty. The voice that asks, what if they don't want to hear from me? What if they moved on? What if I waited too long? What if I hurt them more than I realized? And so they hesitate. Again, not because they feel nothing, because they feel too much. There is a difference. And many people never understand that difference. They assume silence always means indifference. But sometimes silence comes from emotional overwhelm. Sometimes silence comes from fear. Sometimes silence comes from knowing the truth while feeling unprepared to face the consequences of that truth. This person stands somewhere inside that struggle. Part of them wants movement. Part of them wants certainty. Part of them wants courage. And part of them remains frightened. That internal conflict is exhausting. Which is why their energy feels restless lately. Why their thoughts feel repetitive. Why your presence keeps appearing in places where they least expect it. The soul keeps returning to unfinished conversations. And beloved, there is something else heaven is revealing. Something that may surprise you. This person has begun seeing your strength differently. Once, they may have mistaken your kindness for endless availability. They may have assumed you would always be there. Always understanding, always patient, always willing to wait, but life has shown them something important. You are not standing still. You are growing. You are evolving. You are becoming someone new. And the realization that you might truly move forward without them has affected them more deeply than they expected. Because possibility creates comfort. People often relax when they believe something will always remain available. But uncertainty changes everything. The moment they realize they could lose access to your energy permanently, their perspective shifts. Suddenly the connection feels precious. Suddenly the silence feels risky. Suddenly the words left unsaid become heavy. And that weight is growing. Every day, a little more. Every week, a little more. Every reminder, a little more. Until eventually something has to give. Because hearts were not created to carry truth forever without expression. Eventually the truth seeks a voice. Eventually emotion seeks movement. Eventually realization seeks action. And heaven is allowing that process to unfold. Not forcing it, allowing it. Because true love cannot be coerced. It must be chosen. Freely. willingly, honestly. The choice approaching this person is simple in appearance but enormous in meaning. Will they continue hiding? Or will they finally become brave enough to reveal what has been happening inside them? That decision stands before them now, and while they wrestle with it, heaven has another message for you. A message you need to hear just as much as their message. Do not underestimate what you have become. Do not measure your worth by someone else's timing. Do not assume your value depends on whether another person speaks. Do not forget how far you have come. There was a version of you that begged for signs. A version of you that searched for answers everywhere. A version of you that carried more doubt than peace. But look at yourself now. You have survived seasons that once seemed impossible. You have endured silence. You have faced disappointment. You have carried heartbreak. And yet your heart still contains love. That is strength. Real strength. Not the strength of pretending nothing hurts. The strength of remaining open after life gave you reasons to close. The strength of continuing to believe in goodness after experiencing confusion. The strength of protecting your heart without hardening it. And that strength shines brightly around you now. So brightly that even this person feels it, even from a distance, even through silence, even through uncertainty. They feel your energy changing. They feel your confidence growing. They feel your spirit becoming more grounded. And part of what draws them now is not only who you were, it is who you have become. Because growth is attractive to the soul. Authenticity is attractive to the soul. Healing is attractive to the soul, and you have been healing in ways you do not always recognize. But beloved, there is still one piece of this story hidden beneath the surface. One piece that has not yet fully revealed itself. The message they carry is larger than affection, larger than missing you, larger than nostalgia. It connects to something they recently realized. A realization that changed everything. A realization so significant that it altered the way they see your connection completely. At first, they thought they missed you. Then they thought they regretted losing you. Then they thought they wanted another chance. But recently they discovered something deeper. Something that startled them. Something they were not expecting. They realized that the future they keep imagining still contains you. Not accidentally. Not occasionally, consistently. When they think about happiness, you appear. When they think about peace, you appear. When they think about emotional safety, you appear. When they think about genuine connection, you appear. And that realization has unsettled them more than anything else. Because suddenly this stopped being about the past. Suddenly it became about possibility. Suddenly it became about what might still exist ahead. And that is much harder to ignore. A memory can be dismissed. A future cannot. Not easily. Not when it keeps appearing. Not when it keeps calling. Not when it continues showing up in moments of honesty. They are beginning to understand that what they feel is not simply attachment to what was. It is attraction toward what could still be. And that understanding is creating momentum. Momentum they have not yet fully acted upon. But momentum nonetheless. Something is building. Something is approaching. Something is preparing itself. And while they wrestle with these emotions, heaven is asking you to remain centered. Do not rush ahead. Do not create stories where facts do not yet exist. Do not force outcomes. Trust. Observe. Remain grounded. Because the next phase of this connection will reveal itself through actions, not assumptions. And actions are closer than they appear. Much closer. In fact, there is one particular moment approaching. A moment connected to communication. A moment connected to truth. A moment connected to a decision they have been postponing. The energy around that moment is growing stronger every day. They can feel it. Even if they cannot explain it. Their soul knows something is coming. Their heart knows something must change. Their spirit knows the silence cannot continue forever. But what they do not yet realize, what they have not fully understood, is that another revelation is waiting for them first. A revelation about you. A revelation that will shake them deeply. A revelation that may become the very thing that finally pushes them to speak. And when that revelation arrives, everything begins to accelerate. But that moment has not happened yet. Not quite. It is close. Closer than either of you realize. And when it arrives, the message they have been carrying may no longer remain hidden.